going to have the second presentation, also on the topic of AI in learning and teaching, and more focusing on the area of assessment. We have Dr. Humberto Hernandez from the University. Hi, Dr. Hernandez.
Hello. Hello. I don't know if you can hear me well.
Yes, I can hear you well
Oh,
now. So
good.
I will leave the stage for you.
Awesome. No, thanks so much. Appreciate your help. Um, awesome. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome. I see some folks here joining virtually. I see Eve. I see Jenny. I see Juliana. I see some. I know I see some of them. So thank you. Welcome to this presentation, and thank you for being here. I wish I was in person to talk to all of you in person, but I did not have the opportunity to be there. Yeah, today I'm just going to be talking briefly about actually a presentation. I changed this presentation a couple hours ago. I had a completely different set of slide decks that I wanted to present. But in this case, I actually conducted this presentation for the School of Chiropractic Medicine here at the Dual University, which, by the way, we are located in Buffalo, New York. And I said, you know what, I'm going to present it again because it gave so many reactions in the School of Chiropractic when I presented it that I thought, I'm instead of talking about all of these things as I had it structured, I'm just going to present what I show them, which is going to give you again the same gist, meat and potatoes of what I'm going to be conveying here, which is really student assignments, right? How do we assess, right, with this in this AI era, and also how are faculty using also, AI to grade? I'm going to be talking about a couple case studies that we are actually implemented here at Dual University. And I'm saying hello from Buffalo, New York. That actually what you can see there on the screen is actually Dual University. That's our campuses there, the main buildings that you can see there. And what you see right after the river right there, the Niagara River, is actually Canada. So I say hello to our Canadian neighbors here too. Just a little bit about me, 10 plus years teaching online, hybrid and face-to-face. I hold a couple certifications, and here I am. Okay, so let's, and I would love, I did this in the last session, would love to hear, where are you joining us from? What's your role in higher education? If you can share on the chat. Again, I say hi to Jenny, Juliana, Eve, Evelyn, Eve, Pamela. I see so many of them here. So I would love to hear in the chat or also on the Q&A. I will be happy to just hear from where are you joining from, right? And what's your role in higher education? And also maybe not in higher education, because I know that there are some individuals, and the previous session I was conducting just 40 minutes ago, I saw someone from Dale actually. So if you're someone from the corporate world, please know that I'm also was a corporate trainer before transitioning into the instructional design world in higher education. So anyway, I say hi to all of you. I will start diving into this. So basically, I'm going to be talking, about the foundational considerations for assessments, and I will be talking about, current assessment types and, specifically examples that I took directly from our Chiro curriculum, and I will also be talking about, and I put a question mark next to my next point, which is new assessment methods. And I will be talking a lot about academic productivity, which we have talking a lot with our faculty members from the AI faculty learning community, which is, can faculty just use AI to grade? And is that considered academic productivity? What are the ramifications on doing that? And we're going to be dissecting all of that during this presentation. So let's dive into these foundational considerations for assessments. There is something that earlier, our keynote was talking about assessments, right, in higher education, and just assessments in general, right, the creation in this AI era. And there was something underlining that, not specifically said, but it's basically kind of untold. You kind of said it is, or at some extent didn't mention thoroughly as much as I would have liked, which is really the theory and idea and concept of, it's really a theory, as you all know, this is of desirable difficulty. Right? Basically, this theory that basically talks about, students need tasks, that challenge them to the right degree for them to learn best, right? This is thoroughly researched. There is a lot of research talking about this, but what is that, what is that amount of challenge at the right degree, right? That really prompts the student to learn, or motivates the student to learn, right? Or that challenges them just to the right spot that I'm actually want to learn. And when we think about these assignments, especially in this AI era, we are thinking of how we can actually avoid undesirable difficulty, or what I also like to call busy work, right? Which is the reality, right? Busy work. And how do we make sure that we are not just, you know, doing, or in this case, assigning us or creating assessments that are just there for busy work, really, and really automatically hit students as like, oh, this is highly undesirable for me to complete, therefore I'm going to look for the single fastest shortcut that I can create for me, aka I'm just going to go to ChatGPT, copy and paste, and get this done for me in a second, because this doesn't really challenge me to the right degree that where I feel like I really need to learn this. When I was talking to the School of Cairo about this just literally 3 days ago, I told them like, okay, I told them I'm about to show you some examples of assessments that you created for your curriculum, and I'm going to show you how, and you're going to tell me this is actually desirable difficulty or undesirable difficulty. And automatically I got someone asked like, okay, what do you consider desirable difficulty? And here's where I start breaking things down, because I love education, right? And I love the learning science of learning, the cognitive, the neurocognitive science of learning, and all this. And I was like, okay, many of we all have talked in the past about in this case andragogy, right, and all the different things. And basically, I told him like, if your assessment, for example, is you're creating an assessment that you want to implement for your school, and it doesn't have any of these parameters, it's not adaptive or personalized, it's not accessible, unusable, it's non-reckoning, it's not difficult, it's not authentic, and it's not andragogically aligned, your assessment can be automatically be put into ChatGPT, and we'll get this done like in a second. So I told them, and they were like, break that down for a little bit more for me, Humberto. And I said, I'm going to give you the quickest, fastest example that we can imagine. And I actually told them, like, let's go to this sentence. How are we going to apply this once they graduate? How are they going to apply this when they graduate? So I told them like, run your assessments through that lens first, right? Whatever you're about to assign, just think, okay, how is this that I'm about to assign here going to really help them? Or what is that exactly they need to learn out of this assessment, that once they graduate and they are in front of the patient in this chiropractic office, they really need to know, so that I let them know that this is that, so I can I can create my foundation for my assessment in that desirable difficulty, so that they know that they need to learn this. Yes or yes, because once they're in front of the chiropractic, patient, or the patient that needs some chiropractic, help, they would really need to know this. So we talk a lot about andragogy, right? Which is, the methods that we use to teach, in this case, adults, right? Adults that come with this prior learning, right? Prior knowledge, prior experiences, different cultural, pluralisms and intersections that are completely different from pedagogical approaches, right? The big difference between pedagogy and andragogy, right? So we have people already working in the field, right, that are going through chiropractic, in this case, school for us. And I was telling them, okay, and most likely, automatically, they are like, I already know some of these, some of them are massage therapies, and some of them have already gone through all these bio classes, all these different things. So some of them are just learning, the chiropractic. They want to know the meats and potatoes of this, right? For those students that really want to know the meats and potatoes of this, that's what I call like desirable difficulty, right? We need to create the foundations of our assessment based on that desirable difficulty, so that these students that are, again, adult learners who have all these prior experiences, most likely working, have kids, have gone through all of these life experiences, they don't look for the quickest, fastest way to complete this assignment and look for shortcuts, right? Because they know that this is not relevant for what they want to learn, right? I told them this, we are wired to look for shortcuts. We, like, neurologically speaking, we are wired to find the fastest, easiest way to get this done that will give me the same reward, right? So if it's going to give me a grade of X, and I know that I can get it done with ChatGPT, so why wouldn't I, right? So this is why we need to think about desirable difficulty as our foundation for assessments. And there is a great webinar by my good colleague, Amanda. You might have, she hit the nail on the head. She said in the webinar, they use AI to focus on desirable difficulty and to lessen undesirable difficulty. I think she was completely, right on what she was saying. So, because again, this is the foundation for assessments. Then I started talking to them, and again, this is a presentation I did for the School of Cairo, so I'm going to be talking about kind of like what I did there. And I told them like, okay, well, some of you know these tools, right? And they was like, we made it interactive. We talk about ChatGPT 4.0, and then we talk about Copilot, and we talk about Claude, and we talk quickly about Perplexity. I'm not going to do that here. And we said, and have you guys heard about? And I told them like, have you guys read this article about Forbes about ChatGPT is coming from higher education, and basically how that relates to ChatGPT EDU, this enterprise level ChatGPT that is going to be focused 100% with higher education institutions. All this, they were like, whoa, wait a second, like I didn't know about all this. No. Well, anyway, we were talking about that, and it's like, well, this has to do a lot with how we are going to be creating assessments, because basically, as we all know, as I told them, as we know, ChatGPT and many other large language models with the correct plugins can generate responses to any question in any format that you can imagine. I told them text, video, image, audio, etc. So I even took this quick photo. I said this is actually an actual assignment that they require students to learn about. It's something about imaging and all these things. I just said like, listen, I went to one of your classes, right? And I found one of the assessments that you were like, explain the yellow, dot, what is happening there in this chiropractic, whatever injury, and the green one and the red one. And I was like, okay. And then I was like, I literally, all I did was to ask ChatGPT, what is happening here? Again, and I am not a chiropractic, educated student, right? So I could be asking, more, my prompt could be more detailed, that I get all the meats and potatoes that I need, from this. And I told him like, okay, this is what he gave me. And I showed them the chat, and they were like, this is extremely accurate. Like, yes, exactly what's happening. And I said again, and I'm like not a chiropractic student, and I already bypassed that assessment. So if I'm supposed to be interpreting this like this is something that ChatGPT can do for me in like 2 seconds. So I don't see why I would type all of that when I know that I can have ChatGPT do it for me. So I told them like, you know what? Yes, assessments need modifications, and they need to be done now. And then I started breaking this down, and they were like, well, why, Humberto? Like, I was like, say no more. Of course, I'm not gonna do all this exercise that I did with them during that, because I basically copy and paste this, right? But you can imagine what I did. I took all these are actual current assessments that they use for the School of Cairo. I was like, okay, I went to all of your courses. I went to a couple of assignments. I just picked a couple of them randomly, and I put them here, and I'm going to show you. And I told them, I'm going to show you how ChatGPT can get this done like in 2 seconds. And then I just, copy and paste, did all this. And I, for this one, for example, I said, I literally just copy and paste this. And I said, locate a research article about, in this case, I said ultrasound that is recent from the last 5 years, and give me the URL to make sure that is an actual one, and complete this assignment, period. Boom. It created the whole thing, give me the URL. It was a validated link. It worked out. It was the correct article. Anyway. And they were like, okay. They were like, okay, I can see why I can, this assignment doesn't work. And then I was like, and some of you are doing this assignment too, which is just like download these questions that are multiple choice or true or false, and just upload if it was true or false, or it was like A, B, C, or D, or that. And I'm like, I will show you, this can be done in like 20 seconds. And they were like, okay, let's. I'm like, let me time it out for you guys. And then I literally just copy and paste what was in there, and I put it there, and it was true, false. Yeah, this is true, this is false. And I didn't even have to prompt anything. ChatGPT automatically knew that I wanted the true or false answer, or the A, B, C, or D answer, right? And they were like, okay, well, I can see. And they basically, the student just needed to upload the answers. I'm like, this is. I mean, I'm not a chiropractor, and I could get a chiropractor degree tomorrow if this is what I need to do. And they were like, okay, Berto, like that's some jabs, like I was like, let me explain what I need to get to this. And I'm like, okay, I will continue talking. I was like, there is this GSSI webinar and other assignment. And I'm like, okay, we copy and paste it. I show them basically, how to prompt this quickly and get the answers. Copy and paste, submitted the assignment in 2 minutes. And they were like, okay, some of them automatically say, well, Humberto, actually, I do host a lot of my exams and quizzes in, with HonorLock or Proctorio, And so yeah, that's what I do this, because I know that this can happen, and I'm like, oh, you don't want to hear what I know. And I told him, well, I don't know if you guys have heard, but there is like Study Buddy, which are basically Google Chrome plugins, Answers AI, iTranscript, and Courseology, that basically are model windows that students are basically are ChatGPT, are plugins that you can install, right, that give you the answers to Canvas created Canvas created quizzes or exams. So it's basically just like you can see on this screenshot. You want to install the extension and you pay like the $3 fee per month, or I think per week. You basically just click on the button, for example, Courseology, the one that you can see here on the right side of the screen, and it will tell you the answer of the whatever quiz it is. And I tested it, and I don't know how in the world they created this model window that when you are proctoring the screen, it does not collect that screen right there. So I don't know how they coded that. I still have to figure that out specifically, because I like coding. But anyway, this is completely thing. So I tested this out. I paid myself this $3 to see. It doesn't, my friends. This right here, like basically, students can just install this section, and any quiz house in Canvas or an exam can automatically be bypassed. So I was like, when I was going through all of this, I was like, okay. And I showed them this, and I'm like, we are there. And actually, I told them, I learned about Study Buddy from something that actually happened here at the institution. I was like, I was actually eating in the cafeteria, and I did see, this student like looking at her, looking at the computer, just, strange, and just taking an exam. But I did see like this model window appearing like this. And then, I took my badge off, and I was like, oh, hey, I'm a student here too. And I said, like, I'm sorry to interrupt. Like, what is that that you have there? Like, I know Canvas, and you were clicking something. And the guy looked at me like, are you going to incriminate me, or are you going to? So anyway, and I was like, I'm just a student here. Just want to know. Guess what? He showed me Study Buddy, and he was like, oh, yeah, I'm just clicking here. This is a tool that I just downloaded. It's very quick. It basically gives you the answers to all the quizzes and exams in Canvas, and it bypasses HANA Lock. And I'm like, learn something automatically. So anyway, so yeah, so those are not even safe. The solution for this, nonetheless, was, of course, if you utilize Exemplify or ExamSoft, those are safe. Those are good. Anyway, there are so many other multimodal ways, to submit assignments and things like that. And I said all of these can be done by ChatGPT. So what can we do, right? And let me just go back quickly here to the chat in case that there are any reactions to this as I go through all of this event. Let's see. I do see. See if there are any no reactions, but okay, no, I'm glad. Okay, so I just didn't know if there were any questions there. I want to make sure that, of course, I'm responding to any of those that most likely Pamela or Eve or Evelyn or Juliana may have, or anything like that. So anyway, so yeah, so what can we do, right? So I told them, at this extent, any type of assignment that we host or we create has to incorporate some type of AI. And then I told them, I am not one to endorse, as I said, anything specifically. But my colleague Leon first, he created this AI scale, right? Or assessment scale, I should say. That basically, where he lists and says, well, at the 1% or from 1 to 5, 1% is, you are not using any type of AI. The 2% you're using AI, asking students to brainstorm some ideas. Number 3 is more like outlining and doing some notes. Number 4 is more providing feedback and editing. And number 5 is like you are doing fully AI type of generating assignments where you are focusing more on the process than the product. And I was like, and they were like, I was like, oh, wait a second, say that more, say that again. And I was like, okay, the best way for me to explain this is this. I said, there are currently right now, I told them, some tools, like AI-generated tools, AI tools that are complementing chiropractic practice in the workforce right now. Some of those are Ada Health, Path, AI, Zebra Medical Vision. And if you don't know about this and you are not integrating these tools, the use of these tools in your curriculum, we are not training our students to be workforce ready at this moment and AI ready. And they were like, okay, so you are not talking about ChatGPT. And I'm like, it doesn't have to be ChatGPT. It doesn't have to be that every single scale you create, it has to be a ChatGPT created assignment. No. It could be any type of AI tool that is really complementing the workforce. And that's why I asked them, like, you are all the experts, clinicians and experts in chiropractic. How is AI disrupting chiropractic practice in the office, right, in front of the patient? There is where we need to be focusing and grounding those assessments on, because I assure you that if you tell a student, okay, we're gonna be, this assignment is about Path AI. You're gonna Path AI. You're gonna be which is an AI tool that is gonna assist you in the pathology diagnosis, so that you can better understand the underlying reasons and conditions of the chiropractic care that you are going to be doing for this this patient. I assure you that a student is not going to think about that assignment as undesirable difficulty, and they're gonna be like, bypass this. I assure you that they're not going to shortcut, their learning journey, and they're actually going to be thinking of this as desirable difficulty. I want this, right? So anyway, and they were like, okay, this is changing the way I'm thinking about this. And I was like, yeah. I was like, and then I talk more about, okay, and there are some other frameworks out there. You're not going to go kind of fast here, because I'm going to start getting some warnings here, like keep going, Humberto, or something like that. So, some frameworks out there, right? Like some by Mike Kent, which is also a good colleague, and he talks, about stop grading essays and start grading chats, right? These focus on process over product, right? Which makes total sense. Like, we already talked about this, like if it is an end product, that what I'm asking the student to do, this can be done. I will find the shortcut. I'm the student. I will find the shortcut, easiest, fastest way possible to get this done with the least amount of effort, and I'm going to get the same reward. Why wouldn't I do that? I mean, we are all human. We are wired like that. We just cognitively, and we have here actually Huron, our actually co-facilitator, or that's helping us with the technical difficulties. That is actually a neurocognitive science of learning, expert. And so we know that basically this is how we're wired. Anyway, so in this framework, he created an AI chat transcript rubric, that is publicly, sourced, and you can use this and you can look for it, but basically focuses on the process, right? How is a student really going through the motions of, in this case, treating this this patient, right, in this chiropractic practice, and how am I evaluating that is following the correct process as opposed to giving the correct diagnosis at the end, right? That is very important. The experience, right? The experience, their process as opposed to the final product. And I have to say, we have to be thinking a lot about project-based learning too, especially with the intersections of AI. There are many ways to multi-layer project-based learning into this, and I could talk for forever about the theories behind this, but I don't want to. I do want to give you perhaps an example, right? The example I gave our Chiro faculty members. I said, okay, imagine the following, right? You create a patient with pain somewhere. And of course, I told them, like, I'm not a chiropractic, so, a chiropractor, so I would not know where the pain is or the diagnosis. You got to come up with that. So create a patient, right? Or a scenario that is complex enough, right? That has that type, that in this case, AI, right, could be that patient. And, you can maybe have the student ask AI, what are the 10 different problems that the patient may have, right? And the student has to pick the one problem that he believes is the actual diagnosis, that is the most accurate one. And he has to explain why that one that AI selected is the correct one. And he has to, and again, it's more based on, like, show me what the process you will follow to treat this patient, and how did you get to, it is important, how did you get to that analysis of that is the correct problem that he has, right? Or maybe AI didn't select it or listed the one that I wanted or that I was thinking of, right? So things like that, right? And so again, so you can ask the student to analyze the output and of course give a diagnosis that and a proposed treatment based on what AI created, right? Or another project base that has to do with, create a whole case study, right? Assign the role of the patient to the AI, right? And the student, as the future chiropractor, licensed chiropractor, goes through the whole treatment process, right? Of treating this patient. And they have to submit that chat as part of the interaction, right? So that's that on a bigger project, right? Because you can, as I told him, incorporate some videos, incorporate images, incorporate X-rays, MRIs, all these different things. All of those scaffolded or multi-layered projects are the ones that are desirable difficulty and things that actually they're going to need in the workforce. And imagine that you interlayer this or interconnect this with some AI tool that they need to be utilizing, like Path AI. So then we're talking, we're talking about how chiropractors right now down the street, are now being faced with all these different tools in AI and how they can use AI. So that's a way in which the students for sure are not going to bypass that assignment. They're going to really feel challenged to go through that desirable difficulty, right? So that takes me to the next aspect of my presentation that talks about faculty grading. They told me this. They say, like, Humberto, you're telling me that I'm going to have to dedicate a lot more time grading. And I was like, I was like, yes. And I said, but here is the reality in some of this, right? AI could also help you. And then they were like, tell me more, because there are so many things against what you just said. So we said, okay, let's break this down, and I said, and I'm about to give you a very authentic example that I gave them, but I said, we have increased, grading responsibilities, some of those courses that are being taught in the chiropractic program, some of them, follow some accelerated delivery formats of 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, right? Average, seats or students, 30 students per class, and usually they teach 4 teaching load, or sometimes 3 different teaching load, depending on, usually 4, right? Of course, they have to ensure, this regular substantive interaction, or perhaps feedback, right? Quality feedback to the student to make sure that they're actually learning. And they also had to, and there are all these added administrative core management tasks, right? Oh, you have to submit the early alert. You have to make sure that you go follow the rubric of X or Y, and the committee work and all these things, all the different things, right? So an authentic example I actually did with a faculty member from the School of Chiro said, it was kind of similar. And I said, okay, actually I said with one of you, and you know who it is, and I'm going to point it out. And I said, okay, the faculty member currently teaches, 4 courses, right? 4 courses of 30 students each. That's what it is. All right. On average, the faculty member has 2 assignments per week. So on average, the faculty member receives around, 600 words per submission, right? As this faculty member teaches in a specific class and all of this. Okay. And I said, all right, well, let's break this down a little bit more. I said, okay, so 30 students times 4 classes, 120 students. All right. So 120 students times more or less, 2 assignments per week. So we're talking about 240 assignments per week. And I'm saying 600 words per assignment, more or less, because there are some students that are, overachievers, right? All these things. So we're talking about most likely 144,000 words, per week that this faculty member is receiving. And they say that this faculty member is above average, in reading capability. So they can read 300 words per minute. So we're saying that they need 480 minutes just to read the submissions, okay? Which equates to 8 hours uninterrupted just to read the submissions. But of course, we all have to teach, right? We all have to create videos. We all have to provide quality feedback, per assignment. So we have to type. We have to do all of these things. We have to complete administrative work. We have to do all of this. So I need to kind of go fast here about this, but they have all these added responsibilities. So they are like, now that you pointed this way, maybe I can help me with this, right? And then I told them, like, who's telling you not to do it? And then they were like, well, is it fair that I do this? Who's gonna hold me accountable if I decide to do it, or I don't decide to do it? Is it reliable? But AI is gonna give, right? It's gonna give the student, right, or grade the student on. Is it okay if I just put all of this data, right, all of this submission of the student there? Is that transparent? And maybe based on everything that he gave me, I'm just in the loop, right? I just say oh yeah, I would have said that. So let me just copy and paste this feedback, because it took me 20 seconds to copy and paste as opposed to 10 minutes to write all of that in my own words. Is that transparent, right? Is this experimentation? Does it fall under, privacy, security, safety? Is that value aligned with the institution, with you, right? So I told them, then it's when we have to start talking about AI academic policies, right? If there is no policies, then what are we doing? If students are submitting AI generated work, and faculty members are using AI to submit. So what is happening? So we need guidelines, right? We need guidelines. We need to be fair. All these different things need to happen. We have a faculty learning community that meets once a month, and we said this. We do talk a lot about this in our AI podcast. And we are on Spotify. So if anyone is interested, we're happy to talk about all this. So I will cut it just like this, because I know I'm running out of time here. But if anyone is interested, let's connect. And I don't know if there are any questions, or even if we have time for questions. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. That was a very fascinating presentation. We do have a lot of interesting conversation in the chat as well, but unfortunately, we are running out of time, so we do not really have any time for the Q&A. But everybody is feel free to continue the conversation in the chat, or even like moving to the networking hub after the sessions to continue the conversations.
Yes.
And in the